Dude, for like years now, I've been trying to find some good music for like dinner, but Faith does not like music during dinner. So no big deal. But I threw on some jazz, bro. Some lo-fi jazz, and at the very beginning there was like some swing music. You know what I mean? Swing music, bro.
Oh yeah.
And she was grooving, and then as soon as like the beat started, she's like, kill it. And I was like, oh, so you like swing? And I didn't know that. So, dude, after that, it was on, bro.
Yeah.
I put swing music on, and she didn't care at all. The rest of the meal that we were listening to music, I was like, damn, how did I not know she was a swing music fan? This is awesome, dude. It was like, she's like, this feels like a fancy restaurant. I'm like, it does, dude. And I'm glad after 15 years I finally found something we can agree on it musically, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, my wife and I, we actually just found my brother John, who lives in Ireland. He gave us this, I don't know, it's called Wild by John Lennon. Legend. John Lennon Legend.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know, we went on, listened to that CD and started listening to it, man. That whole CD is just fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, I haven't heard it yet.
John Legend did an amazing job putting it together. If you've got a special lady, fucking put that shit on and just enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? So,
all right, dude.
Good shit, man.
Man.
John Legend, Wild. Amazing, man. It talks about driving a car real slow. Anyways, man, today I'm pumped up for a couple of different reasons. First of all,
right,
you know,
let's hear it.
We've been keeping an eye on Twitter and just kind of like what's happening on there, obviously with all this stuff that's been going on. And this article that was written by Reese, everybody, if you don't know who Reese is, he's a new writer. I think this is his second or third article he's written for the Thunder. Pretty talented. He knows some shit, and I like the way that he writes. It's pretty easy to read, and he talks about, you know, what if scenarios. So like, what if the Thunder's tank, you know, what he thinks it would look like type thing. What if we try to go for, you know, the playoffs or a play-in? He just explains, does a really good job explaining that. So if you have time, guys, go read it. I posted it on our Twitter. It's there on the front page right there. Just really good shit. Reese is a good dude, and I really enjoy reading the couple articles he's done, and I hope you keep writing, Reese. I know you listen. You told me so, and I would love to be able to help you out if you come up with an article that you want some help putting out there. Mark and I would love to help you out there, so definitely keep this in mind.
For sure, bro. I haven't checked it out, but I will now that you mentioned that. But so yeah, dude, we've had the weekend to kind of think a little bit more about everything, bro. We kind of got some fan pushback on the whole SGA potential trade. That seems to be something we keep hearing about, and that's good. You know
Absolutely.
why? Because we pushed back when we heard shit like that last year. So we're totally cool with people talking back and giving us shit. Like, we want that. Like, that's what we think keeps everybody in check. If it's like everybody's afraid to talk about ideas and everybody's afraid to challenge people who do, then I don't think that's a good environment. So
You're right.
Like, we're definitely cool with people questioning us, and that's awesome, bro. Like, I think
And
SGA
Chencho, man.
has won everybody's hearts, bro. What were you saying?
Yeah, man, Chencho. Like, I love the fact that,
Yeah.
you know, he's one of our most loyal listeners. In fact, you know, I went back and, Mark, I'm going back and cleaning up a little bit of our Twitter from...
Yeah, I noticed that. Very good, dude. Good
Yeah,
job.
right? So
that's I did
no
a
more
bad
porn
job,
on-
like, fucking that up.
on the Twitter feeds. Anyways, so I'm going back and I'm cleaning everything up, right? You know? And I decided I want to go back to see who was our first person that followed us, you know?
Yeah.
Did you know that Chencho was our first, like, 7 people that followed us?
I had no idea, bro. It
Yeah,
makes
man.
sense,
So
though. It's been
Chencho
there.
has been a loyal follower and loyal listener for day one of us. And, you know, especially with what's going on, I feel like there's a lot of times that we talk about Chencho. And the reason is because he's one of those guys that challenges us. He's not afraid to say, hey, I don't agree with this. I don't like what you're talking about. This is a great subject to keep on talking about. Like, he's very vocal to us about what's going on. And having a listener like that to us is very meaningful. It kind of gives us an idea of where everything's at. So for me, like I love talking about Chencho just because he's one of those dudes that really gets me excited. So you got Chencho, you got Thunder Rat Boy, which those guys to me are the beginning of our podcast. So anytime that we have an opportunity to talk about these guys, I do so. I don't think, is Thunder Rat Boy still around?
I mean, I haven't talked to him for a while, bro, but, you know, he's busy all
Thunder
the time.
Rat Boy,
you know?
if you're around still, get a hold of us. We want to talk to you, see how you're doing. I know you're in the military, so we want to hear how's life, what's up with you, and where you're at right now. So Thunder Rat Boy, reach out if you're listening. But, you know, here's the thing, Mark. Let's get back to this game, though. This game being the Thunder game. JRE, man. Simply one of the most outstanding individuals I have ever witnessed. The things that he does, how he leads. And the fact is that he only played his freshman year of college.
Yeah,
right?
That's hard hard to remember.
What's that?
It's hard to remember because of his maturity.
Exactly. This maturity that you don't see with another 20-year-old or 21-year-old or whatever. You know, this is not something that you see with another young man very often, is the type of leadership that goes out and recruits people when they come in. I say recruit, but really when they're coming in, inviting them in, making sure they're doing things with the community and stuff like that. JRE is the top of the line when it comes to that. In order to understand that about who JRE is, I went back, and NBA DraftNet has some information there and some more websites that I looked up. And also we have somebody that we follow on Twitter. It's called Hardwood. I'm not too sure his full handle, Mark. What's Hardwood? Something. Hardwood something. Anyways,
I don't know.
He had a write-up about JRE as well the other day, which is kind of exciting because we had talked about last episode on Friday. We were going to do JRE. So I was excited that he had posted some stuff up there about JRE, but I really enjoyed reading a lot about the stuff about JRE's past and what he's been able to do. One of the things that made me most excited about was his winning mentality. Think about this. Scored 13 points in the McDonald's All-American in 2019. Not all that great, right? But after that, he played in 2019 Nike Hoop Summit. He transferred to IMG Academy for his senior year and led IMG to win the Geico Nationals, earning the tournament MVP by scoring 18 points in the final in the championship game. And then he goes on to win gold for 18 and under in 2018 for World Cup. And then he wins gold in 2019, 19 and under for World Cup as well. He goes on to win at Villanova. I mean, what else do you want this guy to have on his resume?
Yeah.
I mean, this young man is one of the most decorated high school, college athletes in a long time. And you look at this and you say, holy cow, like, he won a national championship. I keep on saying freshman, but he might have been a sophomore coming out. I don't remember. But the thing is that was able to do is win a championship at Villanova with one of the greatest coaches of college basketball of all time. He was able to win 2 gold at World Cups, which is not easy stuff to do. And then he was able to take IMG and lead IMG, which is an incredibly top-line academy, to a national championship, earning the MVP role as that. To me, this screams, I want to win championships. And that's the thing that, while we're pulling this next stuff together and talking about the things that he does well, just keep in mind about JRE. He is one of those guys that are going to come in, have the maturity of a leadership. He's going to do whatever it takes to lead and be good. And I'm telling you guys right now is that we're not going to see another athlete like JRE slip to the second round. And the reason is because JRE is going to step up and make sure that doesn't happen. He's only 6'9", and I get that. People are like, only 6'9". But the way he moves and the way he creates shots for everybody is what's so impressive about his game. And as we're going through this and you're understanding the type of championship level caliber that JRE is, then you can understand exactly what he's going to be. But Mark, JRE...
I want to give you 2 more things to talk about before we go. All right, so he did play his sophomore year.
Yes, okay.
His freshman year, he averaged 10.5 points, 9.5 rebounds, just under 2 assists. His sophomore year, he averaged 15.7 points, 8.5 rebounds, 2.2 assists, 1 steal, over half of a block. So, I mean, not bad for a sophomore whatsoever. But,
No.
you know, he got those 2 years in college. And I think, you know, as, you know, a lot of people look at it like how young you are is the most important factor, right? But with a player playing for a coach like Jay Wright, maybe 2 years in college is more important than just being young and jumping to the NBA.
Sure. You're right. And that's the way I look at it.
Explain it. Like, okay, say somebody doesn't know who Jay Wright is or doesn't understand the value of a legendary coach like Jay Wright, or say they don't understand the connection to like a player like Jalen Brunson, who's similar but like, why is this so important? Explain it to me.
Well, when you have a coach like Jay Wright or Coach K, or I mean, you can talk about some of the greats, Dean Smith from North Carolina, Charles Wooden. I mean, you could go all the way back throughout the coaching history. When you have a great coach, man, you know, Phil Jackson's another one, a great one too.
John Wooden, dude, you tripped me up when you said Charles. I was like, who's Charles Wooden? John Wooden. Yeah, I'm with you, bro.
Good catch.
But you're right. But specifically Jay Wright in today's NBA, he's been able to take players that don't necessarily have the physical bodies that everybody's looking for and teach them all the little things. And you look at like these guys that have been able to go through his system and come in with extraordinary team skills, extraordinary defensive skills, understanding position. Like a lot of times time in college is a step back for a player if they spend too much time there. But it seems like the more time with Jay Wright, the better these guys are prepared. That's unusual, even for Coach K, I think.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that the way that Jay Wright prepares his players for the NBA is pretty much online with Calipari. And you look at that and you understand that, and you understand the athletes that are coming out. And, you know, Calipari, to me, like you could go back to all the way to his days at UMass, you know, with John or Marcus Camby, you know, and, you know, Derrick Rose at Memphis. I mean, this coach Calipari has always gotten his guys ready for the NBA. And when you're saying stuff like that, then you look at somebody like JRE and you're like, oh, damn, like he has had, in a way, the same type of coaching. JRE wasn't ready for the NBA his freshman year, but his sophomore year, after his sophomore year, he was ready. Now, there's two ways of looking at it. As a player like JRE, if he rolls the dice and gets injured, he's not going to be in the NBA the following season, right?
Right.
But if he goes into the NBA, he's a guaranteed lock second-round pick, okay? And you're betting on yourself the next year that you learn enough that you become, you know, a player that is worth something. And he has. So JRE's not only excelled in that manner, but he's put himself in a position where next year we're going to see him get his, you know, fourth year guarantee, and then it's going to be boom, bam. He's going to get a nice little contract after that because he's worth it. What he brings to this team and the leadership style is something you can't buy. And as older guys like Mike Muscala and you know, Derek Favors and some of these older guys are transitioning out of this lineup and out of off of this team, you need guys like JRE that know how to lead, because this team will become his as it goes down the line. And we can say we understand that they're superstars, all right? But think about the Golden State Warriors. Everybody says, you know, Steph is the best player on that team, and he is, right? Straight up. Steph is one of the greatest players of all time. Easy top 5 player in my mind of all time. And the thing about it is that the way he plays is phenomenal. But he could never be the way he is if it wasn't for Draymond Green. You always need a player like Draymond Green to allow you to be those players like the superstars that you are. And that's why I look at JRE and who we have on this team. He fits that mold. He fits that leadership style to help these guys mature and get better. And you can say, oh, well, he's lacking in this or he's lacking in that. I understand that there's going to be negatives with every single player that you scout out there and watch. But the reality is that his things that he does well far out exceed anything he does wrong. So it's like, you know, that old Bible verse in the Bible talks about, you know, your neighbor, you notice a little splinter in his eye, right? Yeah. And well, you're looking at a log in your eye. And that's the thing about it with JRE, you know, like you see these small things, you're like, oh my gosh, these are issues that he needs to learn. But there's so many that are far and few between that it's really, really hard to say, is this guy going to have a 10-year career or is this guy going to have a 17-year career in the NBA? And if it's a 17-year career, what type of money is he looking at? Is it going to be the Al Horford type money? And I would say yes, because this is the type of player you need in order to be able to push yourself. And Al Horford is a perfect example of what the NBA is moving towards. That center/forward that can pull out and shoot threes, that can drive to the hole, that can play that step-out positions, the top of the key, that can play all around with those guard-like skills. And JRE is that perfect example of where the NBA is going. And good for JRE for having at least 1 year of learning under a great player, you know?
I don't think he did play with Al, bro. I don't think they ever did get to play together. Because JRE was a rookie last year.
I am all over the place today, bro. You're right.
No, but you're right. It's good because at first when you started talking about that, I thought like they did work together.
I did too. For some reason, I thought they played 1 year together. But you're right. I think
it makes sense
year,
that they would have. But at the same time, dude, like Al Horford makes an impact on an organization that will last after he leaves. And I think you saw like Isaiah Roby really step up with his 3-point shooting last year. And I feel like obviously we bring in this new shooting coach, Chip Inglewood from San Antonio, and like he's going to deserve a lot of credit if he can fix some of these guys' shots. All right. But one guy that I don't necessarily think he would deserve a lot of credit for fixing his shot would be JRE, right? Because it seems to me like what we've seen already from JRE has shown that he's improved his shot a lot. When I would say the most important element, if you're a solid screener, which is important, like I don't want to skip anything, but if you're a solid screener and you can roll and you can finish around the basket and you're considered a big man, right? You have those elements. The next step is can you stretch the court? Because if you can't, then they won't respect you. And then like you're going to end up creating spacing issues for your teammates. You look at a guy like Aaron Baines, right? He's been able to make a career now out of his ability to stretch the court. But you look at him early, like when I first started seeing him shoot threes, it physically made me uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean? Oh, yeah. Like, I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but I kind of remember squirming a little bit. It was like, he's not a three-point shooter because I was like this old school mentality guy. And he's been able to transition his game. And now he's an excellent three-point shooter. I'm not sure if he's in the league, if he's, made it back, but I know he's working to, or at least last I heard he was. But my point is, like, being a solid screen and roll guy is one thing. We saw it with Steven Adams year after year after year. But if you can't stretch the court with that three-point shot, then you're limiting yourself and you're limiting your teammates because you're going to clog up the lane. And I saw JRE transition. Okay, so he played a lot of minutes early in the season, right? And he was really that I felt like he was the best big we had at getting the ball to move from side to side, which was really important for that team early. And we were successful early. He got injured. He came back, and they didn't plug him into the same role. They put him more on the perimeter on the three. And we saw his transition to be a much better three-point shooter. And then there were possessions where he transitioned into that five or that high post, really extended step out position, like these different positions that are all about 5 out that we've talked about in previous episodes. And from there, he was shooting the ball better. It's a different shot when you're catching the ball on the perimeter and shooting it versus like facing up and shooting the three at the center. But some players can do that transition, like Al Horford can do either pretty well, but you're still used to seeing him play mostly from the high post out. JRE was showing that ability to do it from the guard position also, and that ability to transition within a possession, that I would call that like everything is about like having these switchable lineups and these flexible lineups. Like that's ultra switchable. Like some people need, I need to be told by the coach, okay, this is the position I'm playing. Some people can just transition throughout. And I don't like it when we talk too much about our own ability to play, but like back when we played, there wasn't many players. Like if you had a label, it was a 5, it was a 4, it was a 3. Not a lot of people could, do other things, or if they could, they were never asked to. And if they did, they usually got in trouble. So this is a new style of school of basketball, but with JRE, he does all the traditional things at a high level, and then he has this, ultra switchability that really matters in today's game. Like I would say Al Horford is one of the pioneers of that, especially in his, like, there was considered a lot of limitations when he came out of college. Like, it was like, okay, this guy could be really good, but his game met the transition of the game at the right time. Brooke Lopez, another one of those players that really were pioneering this big man, get on the perimeter and shoot a lot of threes. And it followed the game, it hit the game at the right time. And I think, like you've said early, just to echo it, it's just like, JRE is an extension of that future of the game.
Yeah, you're right. And you got to look at really his offensive game and what he's expected to do this year. We watched him play up in that pickup game, Mark. You sent me that video over of him playing in the pickup game. And I watched each of the players, and I sat there, and I think I watched it was a 10-minute clip. I watched it 4 or 5 times. I want to say I watched it 5 times, but I'll just say I watched it 4 times for all fuck's sake. Anyways, one of the guys I decided to highlight was JRE. So I just watched the highlights with JRE. I watched it and made some notes. And the things that I really appreciated about what he was doing out there was his on offense, he's running from baseline to baseline, right? Ball's coming down court, he's staying active, and he's going out baseline three-pointer or step-out three-pointer, whatever you want to call it, but he's going out there and he's hanging out. And then as guys are driving, what does he do? He follows them. Now, that's the key. There's a lot of centers out there that like to lead the way to cut to the hole, right? Because they like to get positioning. But JRE is one of those centers and power forwards that he likes to make sure that the guard sees him. And this is how he's going to get a lot of his buckets, because the second the guard cuts to the lane, JRE waits a split second until he's able to make eye contact or some type of contact with the guy with the ball. And the second that happens, he cuts back door. And a lot of this time, his defenders already stepped up and start to stop Shea or stop Dort or whatever. And especially in this scenario, we watched a lot of guys just, in a way, leave JRE alone because of our guard play. And to me, that's exciting. That's what we need from JRE. You know what I'm saying? We need that type of style of JRE to be out there to go step out three-pointer to step out three-pointer. And then at that point, go to the top of the key, catch the ball, put himself in a position to score, or pass the ball around the horn to keep the ball moving. And that's the thing about it, is JRE is not going to force anything. I think he shoots 60% from field goal range, but most of his shots are at the bucket, Mark. And that's the key about that, is that he's one of those guys that he's not going to expect to get the ball a lot. Is he going to score 30 points in a game? Sure, here and there. But it's not going to be something we expect to do all the time throughout his career. But when he does score 30 points, it's going to be because he hits the open shots, and he hits them every single time throughout the game. And we watched last year where JRE would dominate the first quarter or dominate the second quarter or whatever quarter he would dominate, he would go out there and dominate that quarter, you know? And I think we saw a couple times where he put 10-plus points up in the quarter. That's going to be something JRE comes out and does. And when he does it better and he does it harder and he understands exactly what his role is, like he did at Villanova, like he does with the USA teams, like he did with IMG, I'm telling you guys, there will never be another guy that slips to the second round like JRE. Well, there'll never be another JRE, but there'll never be a guy that has the skill level that JRE has that slips that second round. And as we're getting there, as we're getting to that point where we've talked about a lot, that positionless basketball, right? You need guys like JRE that can guard positions 5 through 2. You know, like I would even say that JRE has the ability to guard the 1, but he has to get a little bit quicker on his feet, and that's something that he will be able to do and will come with time. But in order to be able to have this really in-sync team, you need guys like JRE. We talked about J-Will last time, Jalen Williams from Arkansas, his ability to take charges, right? So you've got an ability to a guy like JRE that has this keen act of being able to do whatever it takes to get the ball, make stops, whatever it is, right? Has this incredible way of doing it. And then you throw in somebody like J-Will that is going to step up and take charges, that is going to step up and really fuck shit up for the other team. And then you go back to JRE, who's really good at finding the weaknesses and poke. And then you're going to throw J-Will back in there. And this is going to frustrate teams across the board. You know, like these are two guys that understand the game and how to get there. And some people call it dirty, but I've always been a fan of what they do is not dirty, because the reality is if they got caught, right? If they were getting whistles blown, if they were throwing punches, if they were doing anything else like that, that's dirty, right? when it's called hustle work, okay? Or as people like to call it, taking out the trash. That type of work people don't like to do, right? But guys like JRE, they're required to do that in order to have a spot on the basketball team. And that's the thing about JRE. He's been doing that since day one. And that's why I get excited about him, is that heart, that motor, that desire, that passion, all those things that JRE has are unteachable.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so mind-boggling that this is the moment that we're all sitting saying, what can JRE do, right? Is he going to get better from his freshman year, or is he going to take a step back? And I have to say, man, if I'm out here looking at it, I'm saying JRE has what it takes to take that second step to all of a sudden be like, whoa, what just happened? How is this player this good?
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where you look at maybe a player like Grant Williams as a good example, for the Celtics. A guy that can go out there and hit some big shots, go 20 and 10, and still seem somehow completely underrated in big games. You know what I mean? Like, so the question for a player like JRE comes down to, are you on a good team? Because if you're on a good team, you get respect, but if you're not, then you won't. But his, back of the line defense, like communication, is an exceptional skill. So he has the type of ability to help a team become better without necessarily, being the leader in points or rebounds or assists. And like we said earlier, like what we first fell in love with about him last year was the ability to keep the ball moving. We felt like there's a lot of times where the ball wouldn't get from side to side like Coach had been preaching. And when he got out there, it just got there faster. And it felt like everybody was at their best with him out there. That's a skill. And that, to me, if somebody was like, what's your favorite part about JRE? That's what my favorite part is. Like, he knows how to make sure he's being defended because he can knock down big shots. But in the end, he's making sure that everybody gets the ball where they like it. Like, he's, I would say, like the post version of a point guard in a lot of ways,
Yeah, man. There's three ways of looking at it. Like, I look at NBA players, like there's the guys that need to be coached, right? Mm-hmm. There's guys that know what they're doing, okay? And then there's the guys that are the leaders that are telling everybody what to do, okay? I mean, I don't know what else you guys want, but JRE is one of those guys that is telling everybody what to do.
Yeah.
Like, when you have a leader like that you don't have to sit there and be like, hey, blah, 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 blah. Like, listen, JRE at the free throw line looks over to the coach. Okay, Coach D. All right. These are the films that I've been watching. A lot of it has to do with how the communication level is with Coach D. Okay. Here I am watching JRE at the free throw line. 9 out of 10 times he's looking back at Coach D. Coach D says something. He looks at all the guys. He says it. Boom, boom, boom. Right? Mm-hmm. Everybody knows what they're doing. You're not going down the court on a pretty much like a timeout, is what Coach used to tell us, is that a free throw line is a timeout. I can communicate with whoever I want on the court, right? Before the ball starts moving again. So JRE is looking back at Coach. Coach says something to Shea. Shea brings it back. Dort, whoever, JRE is the first person they tell.
Yeah.
If it's not Coach directly, JRE is the first person they tell. And it's just, it's amazing. He was a rookie last year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A fucking rookie. And here he is doing these amazing things. I can't say enough about him. And the more I look at him, the more I get excited, the more I start realizing that when push comes to shove, in order to have a championship caliber team, it needs to start with a player like JRE. And then all the other pieces will come together. But once you find the person that can lead you to the championship team, then you can find the other pieces that come together, and then you've got this perfect fit of a team. And that's what I see with Shea, and that's what I see with Dort and Giddey and Chet and all these other guys that really fit around what JRE's strengths are as a coach player.
Yeah.
And I get excited, man, because we're not going to have an opportunity like this for a long time to be able to say, hey, we got JRE for what? 2 okay second rounders?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Like, yeah, I get it. There was still the 30, I think it was 35th and 37th pick of the second round, 35th and 38th, whatever it was, picks of that second round that we moved and traded up to get JRE. And people are like, why would we do that? Well, I can guarantee you why we did it is because look at JRE, man.
Yeah.
You know, like JRE is a phenomenal player. And then on top of that, we were able to get Wiggins with that other pick that we had. So we still ended up with 2 phenomenal second round picks out of that bunch there. And I don't know, man. I get to the point where I look at JRE and I see this leader of the future, and it gets me excited because we've been vocal about us being old coaches. You know, like when you have a player out there that is out there coaching with you, you know, like your job as a coach all of a sudden becomes a lot easier, and you can start focusing on other aspects of the game. And that helps. I mean, think about it. JRE's out there. Coach D's not wondering what the defense is fucking doing because JRE's telling everybody what to do. So now what does coach can do? He can focus on the next play down the court.
Yeah.
You know, and I know our offensive system, right? I get it. It's not play induced offensive system. It's a rotation. It's a movement induced, right? And I get that. But it still comes down, and he still tries to direct which way the ball is going. And it's simple as that. And sometimes the mismatches are different, and they come down the court, and they're, you know, like, I get excited about Coach D because these guys respect him enough that they are all looking at him to make sure they're doing what's right. You know, we saw Baisley have an issue with Coach D's first year. We saw Baisley. It was very obvious that Baisley was having issues with it. But guess what happened the second year? Baisley bought in, and you saw by the way that he treated Coach D. There was no more talking back. There was no more lip. There was no more Coach D getting in his face for not respecting him, right? Yeah. Because Baisley bought in, and that was his biggest the person that critiqued him the most, I felt like. Yeah. So, man, if he can win over these guys, that's what I get excited about. That's what I get amped about. That's what I look at this and I say, at what point is this team going to be an obvious championship caliber team to these people out there and the ESPN experts out there? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I get it. I understand that we have to go out there and prove it in order to get any recognition, whatever the fuck that word is. But we have to go out there and we have to prove it. Guess what's going to happen this year if we keep everybody intact and everybody stays injury-free? We're going to prove it. And then we're going to add Chet. Yeah. And then we're going to add our next draft pick. And then everybody's going to be like, holy fucking shit. Yeah. What else do you guys want? Like this team has been put together perfectly. Whether we keep Shea or we don't. To me, it's the team that we're watching right now that gets me amped up. And that's with Shea on the floor. And until we trade Shea, we're going to talk about Shea being on this team because this is what we have. You know, like Shea is the leader, the scoring leader of this team. Dort is the defensive leader of this team. You got everything else in between that you need to have a successful year as a group of guys. Yeah. You know, like everything's laid out this year. All we got to do is go out there and play. Yeah, we got the hardest schedule in the league, but who gives a flying fuck? I don't give a flying fuck because guess what? It gives us more time to go out there and truly hustle balls to the wall.
And that's got to be the identity of this team anyway, right? They have to be out there like taking everything that they're going to get. They're not going to be given anything. They're not going to have any respect from the refs. The other teams are going to make them prove it, but I don't think anybody's going to forget that even though we haven't had a good record, like this team is known for its effort and its refusal to quit, and every game is a dogfight all the way down to the end.
Let me ask you this before you go on. Did you hear one time that we were playing against another team that we watched the announcers and the NBA experts on their team? Do we ever watch a game that they did not say at least 10 times how much they like the hustle that we have out there?
I mean, that's what they talk about, right? They're
every
like, this team's young, and man, when they get some experience, they're going to be good.
But I remember watching some of the 76ers games when they were tanking, and all they talked about was tanking. All they talked about was stuff like that. They didn't give a shit about the hustle.
No, there was no hustle. I mean, it was a terrible situation for players to grow up in, but like the investment we've had in players like Moose and Kenny Hustle and Dort, like these guys are important to an organization, and we've said it before, we'll say it again. Like, Presti found a way to build a winning culture in the face of losing. And that's basically impossible. But he found people who are hungry, who showed up to work every day to get better, and were appreciative of the opportunities they got and bought into what they're doing. So I'm excited, man. I can't wait for the season to start. I think it's been pretty obvious that, especially from all the pushback that, like, we love SGA. Like, this whole fan base is all behind him in a way that I haven't seen ever for a single player. Like, I remember when it was like KD was the man, and there was like
we
this
saw it
little
with Russ
contingent, right? What?
We saw it with Russ. Remember the Russ party? Remember how crazy people went afterwards that were keeping Russ?
Yeah, but everybody deep down, like, there was still this hurt from KD having left.
True.
And it was like, we appreciated Russ because Russ picked us. But in the end, I bet about half the fans, or maybe more, would have picked somebody else if they could have picked somebody else. So we were happy about that. We needed that from Russ. But in the end, I look at SGA as like really the player that's united the fan base in a way that we haven't seen. Like, it just, as soon as the Thunder were good, it was a 3-headed monster, then, a 2-headed monster, and then, down to Russ, and it was like, all right, well, we got Russ, and we're happy about that, but we knew what it felt like to have both. And that was why it was, whatever. I don't want to keep going on this, bro, but you get what I'm saying, and
I do.
In the end, it's exciting, dude, to watch SGA, like, everybody get behind him. Everybody, honestly, from all around the world. Like, it's understood that, like, he's the future of the Thunder, and that makes us excited. And, hopefully he's here when he retires, and when he goes to the Hall of Fame, he's wearing like a Thunder jersey or whatever. Like, that's the most important thing to us at this point. But on top of that, we're looking at it and we're like, we cannot wait to see this season get started. I mean, what are we, dude? Like, a little over a month away from the season, bro? That's it? Jesus.
Yeah, we're not far. We're not far at all, man. And it's getting exciting because I kind of feel like, I don't know, man. There's so much negativity still in the air with this Thunder team. Like, what should we do? Should we tank another year? With our other podcast, we're going to be breaking down one of the players coming up, man. And I'm really excited about that because in a way, if we ever get an opportunity to get another top 5 pick in this next year, I'm not going to be upset. Like, there's some good players here. There's not the type of caliber players as there were, yet last year, but there are a couple players that would jump in the top 3 this year for sure, and probably even take over number 1. That's what I got to say about that. And I would like to be able to break that down and kind of get to the bottom of it, because to me, if Chet stayed one more year in college, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was Chet and Wimbledon or Victor.
Yeah.
Those two guys, I'm telling you guys, Chet would be going number 1 still. Like, he would be taking over that conversation number 1, because there's another person in that top 3 people, this group next year, that I look at and I'm like, holy crap, this guy could be next generational. And again, to me, like, that's what we're looking at. We're either looking at this team going and making a run for the playoffs, or we're looking at this team being like, you know what, it's not going to happen, and we're going to try to see where we can get this next year for a draft pick. And that only happens if, what, Mark? We get injured.
Or, like, we get to, like, the, All-Star break, and we're looking at it, and it's like, we need to make a trade to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
You're
sure
right.
At that point, we're going to focus in on player development, giving the young guys opportunities. But the guy that we're going to talk about coming up tomorrow, bro, on our first episode of the new podcast, bro, is going to be Scoot Henderson. So,
dude,
we're pretty excited about that.
Fucking love this dude.
We don't want to get carried away with it now, but that other podcast, it's going to have a bunch of stuff, bro. I'll tell you right now, I stayed up way too late last night. I'm going to be staying up too late tonight. And, I mean, dude, football season's here. So we got a lot to talk about. I know a lot of people out there listening are OU fans. I mean, that was fun to watch. And I saw, like, Josh Giddey and a bunch of guys were at the game. Pretty dope to see. But, this is a Thunder podcast, so we're only going to talk about the OU game from the Thunder angle. But we'll talk about that and, a bunch of shit, bro. Did you watch any football yesterday? Who'd you watch?
Yeah, man. I watched the Giants. I watched the Cowboys game as well. That was man, I feel bad for Dak Prescott. He's out for a while now.
All right, dude, we're not going to talk too much about it, but I was just wondering who you watch, so that's good shit, dude. We'll talk about this tomorrow, dude. We got a lot to talk about. We got college, we got NFL, we got Monday night we'll be talking about too. So join us on that first episode of that new podcast, dude. We got some names that are popping around. We'll finalize them. You'll see it in our podcast channel. It's on its way, bro. First episode about to pop up. So we hope that you'll join us for that, and we appreciate you joining us for this. Thunder, it's our passion. Basketball, it's what we love. We like talking other sports, but in the end, we could talk about every single player on this roster, and we can make a 45-minute episode anytime about it because we just love this team. We love the way that it's being built. We love the values and the way that it connects to the community of Oklahoma City and all of Oklahoma, which is so important to us and our families. So we appreciate you guys continuing to join us. Dave, you got anything to add, bro?
Man, we'll be back on Wednesday, like always, and check it out. Yeah. If you guys haven't seen our YouTube channel or haven't seen the podcast video channel, you get to see Mark and I's lovely, lovely faces. I cannot say enough of how crazy it is to watch myself on the video podcast, but the reality is I'm stoked because guess what? We're taking it to the next level, and we're the only Oklahoma City Thunder podcast with a video fucking podcast, so everybody else can fuck off.
And if you like dogs, you get to see my beautiful Irish setter.
Yes, she's good, man.
She looks like a blanket. Come here, sissy. Come here. Hey, puppy. Hey, say hi to everybody. Say hi to everybody.
She's quiet, man. She's quiet today.
Yeah, she's usually in here for the recordings, bro.
I mean, we take her fishing when we go fishing, and the reason we take her fishing is because she scares away the motherfuckers that are trying to steal our fish. So she's a good dog.
Yeah, we get to do whatever we want with her around because she's
always covered in those briars and those like thorns afterwards that we got to cut out. But man, when we go fishing with her, we never have to argue people about our spot.
Yeah. It's ours, dude. So, yeah, we hope that you continue to join us. We have a lot of fun with this, and it's become like, I don't know, just like a lifeline of support for us, for each other, just because talking about the Thunder is something that we like to do, but we never spent enough time doing. And like now we have this opportunity, and we feel like this community of people who also feel a similar way about this team, even though we may not always agree on the approach or the direction. Like it's one thing that unites us all around the world, and we definitely take the time to see where you guys are listening from. And we picked up a bunch of listeners recently from Russia, so that's new. We hadn't seen anybody from Russia listening before, so we appreciate you guys joining us. And like I mentioned last episode, bro, Hawaii, I saw a bunch of people, so definitely that means a lot to all of us. And Australia, clearly big time support from Australia. Thank you so much for joining us. We're excited about, this year for all these guys, but clearly, especially Josh Giddey. His potential is off the charts, and he definitely.
Hey, did you see Josh Giddey's 2K rating is higher than Russ's?
Bro,
makes me.
I'm
pumped,
so
bro.
happy. I'm happy for his the respect he got on 2K. Definitely, but there's some players I was like, really. I can't believe they got so little respect, like Patty Mills being one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I'm excited about the year for Giddey, but I wouldn't say necessarily he was automatically better than Patty Mills. Like, you know what I mean? I think that's something that he's got to get out there and prove. But I love Giddey's potential. I think he could have an outstanding year. But like, dude, I've had so much respect for Patty Mills since the Spurs days. It's crazy,
When you see a point guard of Patty Mills' level, you automatically are like, well, I would love my point guard to be at that level immediately, But Josh Giddey's pretty damn close in my opinion. So it's kind of cool to be able to say, like, on the Richter scale, where these point guards are at, and seeing Josh Giddey, like we know, like we see, that he keeps on rising up in the rankings. He's going to be, dude. Nobody really knows how good Josh Giddey is going to be. We really don't. We can sit here and predict all we want, but the reality is we have no idea.
For sure, bro. So this is our longest closeout ever. We really appreciate you guys joining us, and we will be back on Wednesday, See you then. Thunder up.